What's up, brothers? Hope everyone's doing well out there. I just got back from the lake. I'm all sunburned and shit. Plus, I only slept about 2 hours last night, but you know what? It's nice outside, and I think I have just enough energy to come out here and have a conversation with the congregation. So, figured I'll turn the camera on and shoot the shit with you guys for a little while. Alright. You guys remember, or I don't know how old you guys are. If you're my age or older, or maybe a couple years younger, if you're in your mid-30s or older, I should say, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it used to be when a man and a woman got into a relationship, they would shred up all the pictures they had of any of their exes. They'd throw them all out. They'd, rip up their phone numbers. They'd have no means of communication with any of their exes. And for the most part, they're old friends. They would kind of move on to a new stage of their life with their new significant other, and they'd start a family. And they'd do things the right way. But now we've got these, right? We've got the phones. So we can't do that. Every time we get into a relationship, we still have access to all of our exes. We still go on there and we follow people. And I don't care who you are. If you have social media, I don't care how loyal you are, what your relationship status is, marriage status. If you have social media, you will find yourself scrolling through pictures of people you've been with in the past, people you've dated, people you find attractive, whether you're a man or a woman. And you're going to follow people. You're going to be sort of psychologically cheating, mentally cheating. Maybe even watching porn, whatever, right? It's all the impact of social media. And everyone wants to talk about how this has sort of disrupted, if not destroyed, modern relationships. Because everyone positions themselves to cheat on a regular basis. And we all know when you position yourself to do something, it's only a matter of time until you do it. But it's not just dating and relationships that have gone downhill. Literally, it's everything. Okay, and I'm saying this, I'm fresh back from being out at the lake. Didn't even have my phone on me. Being out in nature. And for me, I have time to think when I go out. The people I'm with, they're drinking and smoking. I haven't had a drink in over a year. I don't smoke. So I just get to think when I'm out there, But it's not just dating and relationships that have been destroyed, it's everything. When was the last time you heard a classic song be made? Like, have you heard a song that was released after 2008 that you would say, yeah, this is a certified classic? Have you seen a movie come out after 2008 and you say, yeah, this movie, this is a classic. We're going to be watching this 25 years from now. Have you seen a trend with clothing or style that has made the 2010s or 2020s distinctive from other decades? Like, is there anything? There's nothing, right? We burn everything out so fast, just like relationships. If a new song comes out that you like, you just stream it. You don't have to buy the album anymore. You just stream it, you burn it out, and you never listen to it again. You're tired of it after a couple weeks. Same thing with a movie. You stream it, maybe watch it a couple times. You never go back to it. Your brain just moves on to some other stuff. It's not like the old days. right? And relationships are the same exact way. Last time I was on Tinder, I would find myself swiping and actually getting frustrated every time I would get a match. Because, it's kind of like when you're on an app and an ad comes on and it disrupts what you're doing. But I was swiping. I was like, yep, she's hot, she's hot, she's hot. And then it's like, it's a match. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you're disrupting my swiping, I want to move on to the next girl already. But that's what it does to us, But it's not just dating and relationships, it's everything. The 1960s had a very distinctive style. The 1970s, same. 1980s, that was like a rebellious decade. I don't know of anything before the 80s. The 90s was like hardcore, gangster rap and, like punk bands and heavy metal and the Attitude Era. And the 2000s were like a materialistic show-off time period. It was jewelry and fancy clothes and nice cars. But after 2010, they're just kind of recycling old styles from previous decades. They're not coming up with anything new because the creativity's not there, the desire to create is not there. It's just recycling old stuff in reels. I don't know, it's strange. I know that has nothing to do with dating and relationships, but that's an observation. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there have noticed that. It's weird, right? There was something else I was thinking about. I don't think about my ex very often. I've moved on and I'm happy with what I've got going on right now, but back in 2010, my ex deleted her Facebook and her Instagram and whatever social media she had back then. I asked her why she deleted it. She said because she didn't have any use for it. She didn't need it. And I knew what that meant. It meant that Facebook is a means to meet new people, and she already had all the people that she needed, so there was no point in having it. I don't think very many women out there would do that in 2025. I think we're long out of that era. This is why the passport bros are going to South America or out east, wherever, other countries. They're trying to find women that are still like that, but it's only a matter of time before they're engulfed into it as well. But the important thing that guys need to get through their heads, when you understand how quickly we move on in this era and how unlikely it is to have a relationship last for a long period of time and there be no cheating, how difficult that is in this era. It's more important than ever for guys to understand. And this may sound like I'm joking, but I'm not. Get it right or pay the price. You got to understand some of these things. There was some female TikToker that made a video that went viral several months back. She said something like, I'm going to break down the truth to you, but women will put guys in one of these three categories. We got the first guy who we definitely know is going to get it. We got the second guy who he might get it, but we don't really want to give it to him, but we'll keep him around just in case, right? Maybe he can buy us dinners or whatever. And he said the third guy, he has no chance. He's basically invisible. Now, she wasn't lying. It was very true. But I don't think she went far enough. I don't think she went into detail enough for you guys to understand from a male perspective. Now here's how it would look on your end. You'll run into 3 different types of women. Number 1 is a woman that wants to sleep with you with a condom on. Okay? And if you're dating a girl and she always wants to, or if you're just seeing a girl and she's calling you and she wants to hook up, but she always wants you to wear a condom, you got to understand, you're the bunker buster. You're the moped. You're fun to ride, but she don't want anybody to know she's riding you. She doesn't like you that much. She's not into you. Okay? Now there's guy number 2. This is the guy she wants to sleep with no condom. So this guy is the guy that, she'll do anything for. Doesn't matter what they do, as long as it's with him, she's okay with it. Believe it or not, some of you guys have experienced this, but when a woman has a high desire for a man, she'll come over on her lunch break just to give him a BJ. Come over before work just to hook up with him. She's only got 20 minutes, but she pulls up real quick just to get one in. And then there's guy number 3. That's a guy that she wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Now, let's be honest. I think most guys are probably in that category. You're either if you're constantly watching dating advice videos and you do date but you always have problems, you're probably that first guy. You're a guy that women entertain. They'll hook up with you from time to time, but not really into it like that. If you're guy number 3, you probably know it. If you're guy number 2, that enthusiasm is going to be there. That's the genuine desire. I've had a couple of relationships where I've had girls tell me that they want to start taking birth control. And a lot of guys out there, you'll know what I'm talking about. You've had a girl say she wants to start taking birth control so you guys can do it without a condom. Now we all know what that typically leads to. It leads to her forgetting to take it, and all of a sudden you got a baby. And that's what she wanted the whole way, right? But when a woman has a high level of genuine desire for you, that's the way it goes. Now let's put this in perspective. Have you ever, let's say when you were 21 years old, you remember when you'd have a girl call you? She didn't even have to be hot. She could be like a 5 or 6 out of 10. You didn't have anything going on. And she'd call you and she'd want to hook up. She'd want to fool around a little bit. And you, not having shit to do and being a horny ass 21-year-old, you just throw on your best boxers, enthusiastic as hell, get in your car and just rush on over there. On call. That same enthusiasm that you had when you were that horny 21-year-old and you had an opportunity to go satisfy your needs, that's the same enthusiasm a woman has for a man when she has the genuine desire. So that's the really important key that you got to remember, because in this era that you're just so replaceable, and the level of difficulty to keep somebody's popcorn brain focused on you when it just wants to pop onto something else, just wants to keep swiping to something else, it's very difficult. If you're guy number 3 and you're pursuing a woman, you're going to get yourself in trouble. That's an HR visit at your work, or some type of protection order or something. So if you're guy number 3, just back off, dude. I think after 2 or 3 dates, you should ask yourself, which one of them guys am I? You know, is she trying to hook up with me with a condom? Is she trying to hook up with me without a condom? Or is she just trying to get rid of me? And if it's not an enthusiastic hell yes, then as they say, it's a fuck no. Sorry, I know a lot of people don't like it when I curse, but it's how the statement goes, so we've got to say it. But yeah, I mean, as long as you remember that rule and as long as you play it the way you're supposed to, you should be fine. But it's interesting where we're heading, you know. I did read something though, and it made a lot of sense. I spent a good hour reading into this. And apparently by the year 2030, which is only 5 years away, that'll go fast. Now, we're already at 2025. Think of, it would seem like it was just 2020 like a year ago, right? It's going fast. But by 2030, 30% of our current jobs are going to be gone, toast. And these are typically going to be administrative jobs, human resources, and maybe even teaching, customer service, you know, clerical jobs. You know, regular jobs like convenience stores and things like that. All of these things are switching over. You know, we've got technology now to do all of that stuff for us. You know, they can stock shelves with robots. And definitely administrative work. You know, you don't need a human to do data entry anymore. Now, you don't need a human to organize a schedule. AI can do all that. And 60% of the remaining jobs are going to require some type of an education, like a STEM field, or if you're a tradesman, obviously those jobs will probably still be here. But tradesmen and STEM field are basically the only areas, the only skill sets that are going to be useful in the workforce. So that's going to be interesting because, and servicemen as well, like police officers and firefighters. So the jobs that are still going to be here, police officers, firefighters, military, STEM field, servicemen, I already said that. What else? Tradesmen, meant to say. You know, electricians, plumbers, roofers, concrete, all that, right? That's still going to be here, but the interesting part is those jobs are typically jobs dudes do. You know, and the jobs that are going away are jobs that are typically, they've been done by women. That's going to be an interesting shakeup. You know, because one of the biggest reasons why dating has gone downhill besides social media is because in a lot of cases women are making as much or even more money than men are, and they don't want to date guys that are in their same tax bracket, right? They want to date up financially. So that'll be an interesting shakeup. You know, we still have to deal with OnlyFans and Cash App and simping and all that stuff. Like, there's still a lot of issues taking place, right? But we're going to see some interesting shakeups. So you got to stay up to date and you got to stay focused. And you might want to educate yourself if you're not ready for what's coming in the world. You know, this next jump. You know, you got to think, there was a time in like the 1970s when you could get a job at the post office, you know, get a construction job or whatever, be an auto mechanic and make a really good living. No education, just train yourself. But suddenly things changed and you had to have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a PhD just to make a good living, right? like in the 80s, 90s, 2000s. It changed. Well, now we're at that next change. It's big technology. It's AI. You're going to have to learn to either program or code or something like that. Obviously, or be a tradesman or a serviceman. But making some pretty big changes. You know, people have to be up to date. And yeah, your financial health, your current situation is going to play a huge role in your potential to meet a lady, to start a family, to have friends, to live the life you want to live, even if you're single. You know, it's not going to be easy, especially if you're a working man. But all those factory jobs, all those administrative jobs, they're on the way out. It's not just like, oh, the president sent our jobs somewhere else. That's not what's happening. Okay, in some cases maybe that is happening, but that's not the big picture. We are changing. The structure of society is changing. Big changes. And we're changing faster, more rapidly than we ever have in human history. We stayed the same for millions of years. You know, we had basic architecture, basic engineering, horses and carriages and whatnot, two-story homes. You know, eventually we came around to electricity and radio and the gas combustion engine. And here we are now. You know, the internet, AI, big tech, all this new technology. It ain't going away. And, you know, you used to have a human being coming up with these concepts. Now you can have an AI come up with these concepts. A human being can come up with one concept every 5 years. AI can come up with 1,000 concepts every 10 seconds. So it's going to change fast. And get ready. I suppose we're straying off a little bit too far into some unknown talking points right now, and I don't really want to do that, so I'll go ahead and shut this one off. But hope everyone has a good week. I hope this video was somewhat informative. And that's about it for today, guys. Until next time, see ya.